Hello everybody, welcome back to Zero Tolerance TV. ZT here, and we're moving on in Group A. This is going to be Oddysay versus JJUB, which I suppose you could read from the title. Maybe saying the names of the players isn't actually necessary, huh? But then I'd have to think of something else to say in these moments. And yeah, I have no idea who that is. I think they're on a team called Neo Empire, maybe? It looks like that might have been a thing. Although then there's no team name here unless Vinara, I don't know. Maybe I'll look into it a bit. Maybe that's who gives them this utterly ridiculous clothing. Although I think it's actually the studio. So whatever. It's just how it was. 2001, I guess, was a simpler but more complex time. So this is going to be a Terran vs. Zerg, which is pretty exciting. Definitely one of those, I would say, two really good matchups. the Terran vs. Protoss and Terran vs. Zerg, they're just so good. I like Protoss vs. Zerg a lot too. I would rather watch that than Terran vs. Zerg personally, but that's just because I'm a filthy Protoss player. And I can kind of just accept that this is probably the best matchup to watch in just overall from an unbiased position. But yeah, it's my choice, which is my favorite. So we did get cross spawns here. Is this the? I think this is that island map. I think this is Halls of Valhalla. So I'm just saying that because I remember the extractor was in the middle of the minerals on that map. So I think we're on an island map here, which means delayed expansions for sure. I suppose as a Terran player, you could expand earlier. And yeah, this is that map indeed. So there are no ramps from those high ground mains, as far as I'm aware. Zerg really just stuck on there until they get lair and they can drop. So this is another gas first. I think that's probably just like the build. Is just rush lair, fastest possible lair, and then get drops, get your expansion, or get a spire. We've seen that, and that would probably be pretty decent here. Terran options for dunking on Mutalisks are not quite as good as Protoss, especially with the Valkyries kind of just sucking at this point. Again, there's that bug where if there's too many particles on screen, they just won't shoot. So in remastered, we might see that, although we don't really see island maps anymore. But at this point, really just not a thing. So we'll have to see what happens, what their tech choices are. Now, Terran can expand. It doesn't look like that's what Oddysay is going to do, but it is an option. I mean, you can build a command center and just float it to the natural. It's not that far of a distance, so I think, I keep thinking that Terrans should try that, and then nobody ever does it. So maybe they did try it, and they've just realized it's not good, but whatever. We're not seeing it here, that's for sure. This is another quick gas, and there's that lair. So no surprises from JJUB, really. Just quick gas into lair. Factory here for Oddysay. I guess that's the only option. Maybe you could go... No, you couldn't. I was going to say you go Academy to try to scan, but that sounds awful. Cut SCVs to get information that you basically know already. I wonder if he went lair on this island map. He probably did. Here's what I do know. He's not going to be attacking you for a little bit. So maybe don't pointlessly rush for scans. It's like if you can't bring your SCV to scout, oh my god. Okay, well, here's the Academy. So this is earlier than I thought it would be. Starport started up now, so this is a 1-1-1 for Oddysay. No add-on on the factory, so not going to be anything like a vulture drop. There's that layer finished up. I imagine that is the spire, and it is. And that second hatchery started, so JJUB will have his larva, but he's still going to have to wait to expand for a bit. He's going to be building mutas off one gas, which in this matchup is kind of rough. Overlord going to try to get in here for some information, but I don't know that it really saw anything that important. I think he saw the academy, but like, whatever. I mean, that kind of matters, but it's not a big deal. The only thing that, yeah, okay, and there's the comp set started. So that is earlier than I thought it was going to be. But that information is valuable. One of the problems with going scan is you don't know where your opponent spawned. Maybe he can figure it out just based on the timing of the Overlord. It's like, well, you know, it went to one of the closer bases and then came over to me. So maybe he knows it's cross spawns, but that could also just be the second Overlord or the third Overlord or something that was sent there. So I don't know that you can really confirm the spawn location just from that. We'll see if Oddysay knows. First Wraith is out, getting that Overlord kill. Pretty annoying to lose your first Overlord this quickly, but that is valuable information to know that it is Starport. And there's the control tower, so I think this is going to be for some sort of drop. Oh no, actually, going to be for science vessels really fast, as the science facility is actually done already. Second barracks on the way, so there will be dropships. And now we have this scouted, but the mutas pop out at a pretty inopportune time for Oddysay. The Wraith does fly away quickly enough, though, so not going to lose it. Man, are these turrets in time? Like, he hasn't even started building them yet. The E-base not even done, and yeah, no, the mutas are just here already. So late turrets for Oddysay. He might take some real damage from this. He does have Marines and that one Wraith and some bunkers built. So he will have a way of defending against these, but the mutas are diving in on top of the SCV line already. I'm not sure if they even got a kill there, though. There's a pretty big blind spot for these Marines with bunker coverage, and one Wraith really doesn't do too much to mutas. You can kind of just kill that off, really. A couple Scourge flying in, gonna be trying to find that Wraith. We'll see if Oddysay can react quickly enough. Still only looks like 4 mutas here, and no expansion for JJUB still, so kind of rough for him. Did he already play on this map? I think I casted a game of his from this, that was the Zerg mirror, I think. Oh my god. Oh no, that was a different, that was actually a different map. I don't think that was actually a true island map, but very long rush distances. I'm trying to remember who he played. He played against Gur on this map. That's what it was. And yeah, Gur kind of showing the strength of Corsairs, catching JJUB's drops, and really shutting down the muta play as well. So that second base is started now for JJUB, so he's going to get a second gas soon. Hydras are starting to pop out. I do think Hydras are the tech that you have to have. It's just really tough to go mutas when your opponent knows this science facility or science vessel rush is going to be super effective if JJUB overcommits to mutas. One irradiate can really ruin your day if your splits are not good. So makes sense to be in Hydras here. I think seems to be that Zergs are a little forced into going for Hydra tech in almost every island map. Even if they open muta, it just doesn't seem to do much. Like this game, basically no damage was done, even though the turrets were so late. Actually, I don't even think he's built turrets yet. Muta's trying to get something done there, but actually just getting caught, and an irradiate on these mutas is not being microed out of, and oh boy, ton of damage going down. I think there's only going to be one left now, so really this muta play did a bunch of nothing. And Oddysay is moving out now. He's on the map with his bio and his one Wraith and that one science vessel. Also his dropship here, so nice variety of ship units or air units for him. That Overlord gets taken out pretty easily. Wraiths are quite good at chasing those down. And it looks like these are actually Stim Marines. Now going to be engaging into these Hydras, but that's a pretty good concave for JJUB. And actually, he's just going to crush this army. His Hydras just obliterated everything. The dropship goes down. I think the Wraith went down as well. These medics are not long for this world. And that was a disaster for Oddysay. He was, I think, in a good spot. Mainly because JJUB went for mutas and they seem bad here, but damn, that was a tough attack for him. All of his units just walking into death. And still only on those 2 barracks. Third one is started and no second base for him either, so I think this is a pretty bad position. Okay, the CC is just about done here, so he's going to be able to get that second base economy going. I think he's going to move his barracks to the low ground too. You don't want to sit here and have to, you know, shuttle your barracks out, or all your Marines out every time you build one. He should be moving those to the low ground soon so that he can produce his bio on the low ground and take over the map. And I would like to see him build some turrets as well in his main. You have to defend against drops somehow if you're going to be putting that production on the low ground. So he's going to need those turrets. That are just a really strong air army, but honestly, Wraiths, when your opponent has Hydras, are just kind of shitty, so. Alright, second gas active now. It's really what you need as Zerg. It's just a lot of that gas. Even a third gas is probably something he's going to need to get relatively quickly. Being on even gas with a Terran can kind of work if you have like 4 each, but both of you at 2, it's pretty tough. Tanks on the high ground are doing a pretty good job of shelling these Hydras as they run in, but actually with vision on that high ground, one of those tanks gets picked off, and a radiate on one of the Hydras, I think is what that was. That a lurker? No, I don't think so. It was a Hydralisk, but not enough to kill all of them, and there's still a group of Hydras here doing damage, now getting SCV kills. Kind of falling apart for Oddysay here. Now, it does have this Bioforce. It is going to be able to clean this up, so it's not a total disaster, but probably a decent fight there for JJUB. Oddysay going to need to keep producing those tanks, given the comp here. Really Terran's best weapon against Hydralisks. Now, he's building turrets, but at the natural, kind of comically. And the factory getting lifted off. Actually, that's not what I expected. I thought the factory was going to produce tanks on the high ground and the barracks were going to come down to the low ground. Maybe not going to be making more tanks for now? I don't know. Tanks seem really good. Also, I mean, if you're going to push, tanks will let you attack the high ground from the low ground. And then you can use the safety zone created by your tanks to drop your Marines up there and actually make your way onto that high ground. Those Overlords, well, they were seen by the SCV. The question is, did Oddysay notice? Probably. You would have to expect at this level they're going to see it. And an immediate scout on this third, so very good information for Oddysay right now. And now scanning these other bases as well. If you look at the minimap, both bottom corner bases and then both those middle side bases, the other main scanned all at once. So I guess he banked up to 100 energy. We haven't seen any lurkers yet, so it's not like those scans need to be present for the fight. So not a big deal using them for scouting. That's pretty much what they're for. I didn't see that starport producing. I thought more dropships. He's only got the one. Oh, and Hive already done. And there's the Nidus Canal. This is a pretty big moment. Just letting you produce Hydras on the high ground and not having to shuttle them out is pretty huge. And that is some nice saturation. This is a pretty strong economy for JJUB. Man, crushing that attack like he did right away just allowed him to sit here and drone, and it's really showing. Like, that is such great saturation. It is only 2 base, but you know, that's going to even out when the third finishes. Some of those drones will probably get transferred. And obviously he can just make a few more drones at that third and have 3 really strongly saturated bases. Still pretty early in the game, so not too much danger of mining out. And now the lurkers are here. There's quite a few lurkers. I think 8 or 9 were on screen there. Hard to count sometimes. So JJUB, I think, is in a great spot. Now those barracks did fly over the low ground and now making more here. So, not going to have to shuttle everything out. 112 supply. I would like to see where JJUB is at. I think he's probably somewhere around there too, honestly. That is a big army. Oof, 91. So yeah, not too far behind. Both players banking a pretty considerable amount there, hitting 1k with 600 gas. Now for Zerg, that's kind of more forgivable because Larva and Oddysay was lower. I think he had like 400 minerals, so not a crazy bank. I'm kind of expecting JJUB to maybe be saving up Larva for something. Has he made like an Ultra Cavern or something? Not sure. He's moving across the map right now with this army. Looking to pressure Oddysay here. Looks like Oddysay has actually taken his third, so also has a decent economy. Knight is finished here at the third for JJUB, so he's going to be able to drone up at that base, but just has Larva he's not using at the moment. Gotta get that macro. Okay, Greater Spire, that's what it is. You know, I think, what are those called? Not Broodlords. Guardians. I think Guardians are going to be pretty good. Oh, a Queen. Okay. When it's just one Queen, I feel like it's pretty unlikely that he's going to be spawning Broodlings. Probably for Parasite. That's what it's called. But here we have an engagement. Lurkers running in and getting on top of all this Terran army, burrowing, and this is going to be a massacre. So many Marines just churned through by those Lurkers. Hydras now are going to clean up the tanks, and this is a Zerg on top of Terran's production. I think the game is getting pretty close to over, honestly. A couple Scourge flying in, hitting a Science Vessel. Now the Hydras are cleaned up, so Oddysay has managed to hold this off. Luckily, that was just one barracks that he was on top, that JJUB was on top of, so not actually that bad. Sometimes you get some Lurkers burrowed. You get some Lurkers next to your opponent's barracks, and they just murder everything, and the game is over. So I kind of called that a little early, but a big move there from JJUB. He's still not producing off that hatchery. Come on, man. Hit the D button. Make some drones. I think he did have the gas mining there, so, you know, the important part of that base is in, but, you know, I mean, free Zerglings, right? Like, might as well. There's no reason to not be mining, or, you know, even just not using that larva. But, whatever. 4cc up for Oddysay. He's going to be floating that up to top right, I imagine. But look at this Hydra Flood. I wonder if we're going to see another engagement soon. It definitely seems like JJUB is not that interested in just taking the map, even though he really does have the opportunity to right now. He could take both the bottom left and right now pretty freely. Either put a Nidus there or just transfer an Overlord worth of drones and get some pretty excellent mining out of that. See, 2 starports with control towers. Is this like a Wraith switch? No, that can't be right. I don't know what he's doing. This isn't TVT. You don't randomly build 15 Wraiths. Yeah, they're just not that good here right now either. Now this base that JJUB was trying to take, which is really close to the Terran, is going to get shut down immediately by that drop. Oh no, and catching the cocoons too. Not noticing though, finally he is on top of those. I think these are going to be Guardians, but yeah, the mutas have to cancel. Ends up losing one of them, so not a total nightmare, but having to restart that morph sucks. He's kind of lucky. I mean, you could have chased those, but probably wouldn't have been a good play. Ah, these 2 mutas need to run. This is definitely not the fight that you want to be taking, JJUB. Oh, is it going to die? Yeah, it's dead. That is pretty painful. 2 mutas gone for free. I think that's 3 Guardians finished there. So he does have some, and that will let him siege that base somewhat effectively. Guardians with Lurkers under them sounds pretty tough for Marines to fight. That poor SCV and those 2 Marines just died for nothing, but such is, well, death, I suppose. And yeah, it actually is Wraiths. You know, I guess if he knew there were Guardians coming, Wraiths seem pretty awesome. But not if they're going to fight Hydras. And this engagement is not good for JJUB. This is just not how you want to fight a Zerg. All these tanks sieged up, just melted those Hydras. Lurkers were behind them. A really bad engagement there from JJUB. And honestly, I think Oddysay is going to be ahead now. JJUB has just been sitting on 3 base for way too long. He's got less bases than Oddysay now, and his Guardians, which he spent so much money on, are being killed off now that one Wraith is killed off by those Scourge before it can finish off the Guardian, but the second Wraith is there to get the job done. So really JJUB kind of falling apart here. I thought he was in a really great position, but it's not going well anymore. That one Wraith decides to have mercy for that Overlord. I think he was like 1 shot away from dead. But yeah, JJUB needs to do something now. I like the turret ring. You might as well, on a map like this, build a lot of turrets. And look at him. He's just out-expanding the Zerg. He's going to have an amazing economy. And JJUB's still just on those 3 bases. Making Hydras, but the army's too big now. This is a nice catch for him, getting a couple of those SCVs for free. But Oddysay does end up turning them around. Now there's that base there. Okay, it is finished now here for JJUB. So he's got something. This is the that's the left side main. Oddysay taking the base right next to it. So with a 4th now, you know, maybe JJUB comes back in that economic game. We'll see. Looks like he's getting ready to drop somewhere. Yeah, he's going for the main here. And I was talking about it. I wanted to see some turrets in this main, but there really just aren't that many. 1 turret and that 1 bunker. A bunch of idle SCVs too. You definitely could have been building some turrets with those. The SCVs instead now just going to fight Hydralisks. And Oddysay's been moving out in the meantime. So his army is not in position to deal with this. Looks like he's just going to lose all these SCVs basically for free. Pretty painful for him. An irradiate on 1 Hydra, but it gets split off well enough. And this is a problem. A lot of irradiates going down on these Hydras, so mostly going to get cleaned up, actually. I think there's going to be like 2 or 3 left. 4 maybe. Not that many Hydras, so that's the sort of thing that you can deal with just by producing units. And Oddysay's army is pretty strong and in the middle of the map, so he is looking to put some hurt on JJUB. Definitely some vulnerable bases, and still more SCVs in the main fighting Hydras. I think they're actually going to win. I mean, if you can call it a win, that was a lot of SCVs to deal with that drop. Oddysay does have a lot of command centers, though, so he can make more. And these irradiates are just doing so much damage. I mean, they're not side storms, but damn, they're doing a good impression of it. A ton of damage on those Hydras, and look at all these tanks too. Maybe a little low on bio to protect them, but when you have that many tanks, it just doesn't matter that much. Your opponent's in Hydra Lurker. Like 8 tanks are just gonna kill so many Hydras. So many. Hydras at the 3rd. I guess that's where the rally point for the main hatcheries are. Man, Oddysay's still moving forward. These reinforcements, looks like they're going to be able to join up with the main army. And more Hydras actually getting picked off there. It's looking dire. The main drop looks like it's been cleaned up. Some more Marines being produced on that high ground. And Oddysay is getting into position to siege this base. And JJUB just calls GG. Real shame for him. I thought he was in a great spot, but those engagements were... well, frankly, they were just really bad, and kind of ended up throwing that game back to Oddysay. But credit to him, he played it well. I hope you enjoyed the game, and I hope you tune in for the next one. Peace.